So the York County Trail Towns is a program that was launched about a year ago, just over a year ago, to really highlight our 5 communities that are along the York Heritage Rail Trail. And in the past year, we expanded to 2 more communities, Hanover and Wrightsville. And it's really about trying to get people to come off the trail who are trail users and come into the communities so that they can patronize businesses, they can learn more about local history, they can get a sense of the culture of York County all through experiencing the trail in our trail towns. We've been wanting to try to connect with these towns along the Heritage Rail Trail for a number of years. Fortunately, Senator Kristen Phillips-Hill approached us with a funding opportunity from the state. We were able to apply for the funds, pitch this idea of a Trail Towns program, and then the senator was able to secure the funds on our behalf. Since then, we've received a second grant, and it's really allowed us to take the program to the next level. Big picture wise, YCA is always looking for opportunities to take our economic development tools and bring them into smaller communities. Communities that are probably never going to receive a $10 million grant for a redevelopment project, but really could use technical assistance for their businesses, promotions, and that's really what the program allows us to do. When we launched the program, the first year was pretty much outreach to the communities and included meeting with business leaders, community leaders, elected officials, and trail users and residents. We had planning meetings, but the really fun hands-on part were what we call walk shops, where the community would come out, walk with us through the community, have a checklist, and try to see the trail as it relates to the community through the eyes of a trail user. So it asked questions like, if you need an ATM, do you have an ATM available? Where are the restrooms? Where can I fill up a water bottle? Where can I park my bike safely? What amenities are missing? What businesses are missing? We took all that information and put it into action plans for each community. And now we have action teams in each community of those same stakeholders who are helping us advance those priorities that were identified. These are towns that obviously are historic in that they were located along the former railroad right-of-way. So they're all very dense railroad communities that once were oriented towards the railroad, and all their industries were oriented towards the railroad, and that has obviously gone away. So in a lot of the communities, it's about getting them to return to the railroad corridor. And even though they've had the rail trail coming through their community now for, in some cases, a couple decades, the idea of very deliberately trying to get the 250,000 people who use the trail every year to come off and entice them off is a new concept. So in places like Railroad, where it's a really small, compact community, it's about getting people excited enough and give them activities enough that pull them off the trail so they can see Jackson House Bed and Breakfast, or they know they can get great crabs at Bob's, or they can stop and watch the development of the Creek House and the renovations there, or just go up the main street and see some of the historic architecture. In other communities like City of York, there's obviously a huge infrastructure already for tourists. There's historic sites, there's restaurants. And in that case, it's more like, how do you get people, instead of just biking by on the rail trail, to know that just a couple blocks away are all these great things that they could come and see? In the communities, I think they're excited to have a program that's really embracing their uniqueness and driving some interest and resources to towns that frankly haven't gotten a lot of attention in recent years, because we're an economic alliance trying to create new businesses. And so even this past week, we were really excited that a brewer from Northern Maryland is relocating to just outside of Railroad, going to open up their main operations there, create a brew pub, have a great chef, and this is like new investment happening a couple steps away from the rail trail. In Glen Rock, Simply Local just opened at the Glen Rock Mill Inn. That's a cafe with an ice cream window right on the trail. So I think we're going to see that relatively intangible excitement that we've been feeling for the last year translate into these very tangible things like new businesses opening, new programming coming into the communities, great programming that already exists like Steam into History and North Central Railway, adding attractions onto what they already do, all because of the excitement in these 5 communities. Hanover and Wrightsville are really exciting to us because they're not on the Heritage Rail Trail, but they each have their own assets. So in Hanover, it's really, how do you get a community prepared for development of the Hanover Trolley Trail that'll eventually link Hanover to Spring Grove? So a lot of that is really, how do you become a trail-friendly place so that when that trail is completed, you're ready for that influx of visitors. In Wrightsville, it's how do you take advantage of all the people that are already in Columbia and Marietta enjoying the Northwest River Trail right across the river, on how do you pull people in from the river itself, how do you pull them in from the Mason-Dixon Trail. So each one of the communities, even the ones that aren't on the Heritage Rail Trail, have unique assets, and it's really about, I think, getting people to recognize those and then leveraging those. This past year, we had the opportunity to work with the York County History Center to create content for historic walking tours. This was happening in the context of COVID, where we didn't want to bring groups together, but we wanted to give people the opportunity to be able to download their own walking tours of these communities that have had some historical research done in the past, but there hasn't been active interpretation that visitors could easily access. And so the historians at the History Center were able to mine their documents, go out and find some additional sources, talk to local historians in the communities, and bring that all together into content that we'll release later this year. And hopefully not only gives trail users who are there for recreation an opportunity to visit the towns, but while they're there, gives them an opportunity to learn more about the history of each community.